away from the families far more than what they should be. You know, they're overstretched, undermanned. The government's cut back on the military, on everything. Our munitions have been put over to France to be manufactured. It's kind of the whole thing is madness, isn't it?
Madness? I tell you something, that they claim, I was reading in the press yesterday, that the Afghanistan campaign could last 10 years.
Oh, I'm quite sure, or even longer, but long term, and nobody's ever won, have they, out in Afghanistan? Everyone's been sent packing with their tails between the legs, and the Russians couldn't take it on. No, but we never did, what, a century and a half ago, or whenever it was. You know, I mean, it's that sort of territory. I mean, you're fighting fanatics who know their own land better than we do. You know, we're never ever going to win in these places. It's insane. Well, I don't know whether it's winning, but it's establishing their own democracy. If you can ever establish a democracy in a Muslim, in an Islamic world, I don't know whether you can. But I'll tell you what I find about our MPs. I haven't heard of one about these rantings around the world against the Pope. None of our MPs have spoken out about this, where they want the Pope to have his life terminated, etc. But I suppose because they're all representing areas that have high Muslim voters.
I suspect that could be a part of it. The other thing, of course, is the Pope might have his own agenda, and nobody wants to get that close in case they get caught in the splashback.
Yeah, well, you see, here in this country, and you know, it's a secular society, and I don't know whether you believe in religion. I certainly don't. I'm an atheist, and that's the way I see it. I think most people in this country seem to be. But you know, going on to about the Liberal Party, how the heck does Menzies, spelled Menzies Campbell, become Ming? I mean, Ming up in this part of the world means a smell, actually. When you say something's minging, it's smelling.
Really?
Yeah, and why is it that all these leaders of all our parties, including Cameron, Blair, Gordon Brown, and this Ming Campbell, they're all Scottish. Why the hell do they want to run the British Isles? Most of the voters are English anyway, so in effect they want to run England.
Well, it's called the Midlothian problem, isn't it?
It's an obsession, yeah, absolutely, and they shouldn't be allowed to.
It means that if you're Scottish, you can be an MP in Britain. Well, in particular, in
well, it can vote on English matters.
Yeah, and be responsible as an MP, but there isn't a reciprocal arrangement.
That's right, and it's totally wrong, isn't it? I'd like to see an English Parliament anyway. You're on about flu jabs.
I want to know about flu jabs because
I've had them.
Are they good? Generally, is it worth doing?
Well, I don't generally get flu. Well, I don't get flu or colds. I haven't had them for years, although I did have one little flu. I was speaking to some people, I was in close contact with some people from, I think it was earlier this year or late last year, and they had serious bowel problems. A few days later, I went down with it. Oh, I was so ill. But no, I don't normally get flu or colds, but I do have a flu jab each year. People say, oh, I get flu symptoms afterwards. Well, I don't see how that is, because the way I understand it, flu jabs are from a dead vaccine. And the doctors where I go to, they say, well, you can't get flu from a flu jab. So how people claim that they do get flu symptoms, I just don't know. But I find, I don't know, I just lead a healthy lifestyle. I eat lots of vegetables and fruit. I do take half-strength aspirin as well. As you're older, you've got to take all these insurance policies, haven't you, with your life? You've got to keep fit, you've got to eat sensibly, and just so you stay on the human conveyor belt. I mean, we're all getting older, and we're all getting near the end of it. And I don't know whether I'm hanging on with my fingertips, and old Nick is out there, the Grim Reaper, ready to jump on my fingers and kick me off. I don't know. I hope not. But, you've got to look after yourself. I go for a bike ride every day for an hour, and I'm going to start going to the gym again. You've got to look after yourself, because it's a short life. And you realize that, when you get into your 60s, because when you're in your 20s, you think, oh, 60, you think that's a hell of a long way. But you're suddenly there. And then it's not long before you're staring 70 in the face, and it's Jesus, you think, crikey, how much longer have you got? So you've got to keep very, very active. Keep working and keep moving.
Yes, I think that's probably key, actually.
And you've got to be... And, you've got to be interested in everything. Get out and do things and don't just sit. I used to see a lady, I think she died fairly recently, and I used to see her every day. She used to walk miles. She was 90 years old. And there were other people similar ages always walking around the area. And, not just ambling around. And this old lady who was 90, she said, I'm not like this. She was living in a home. She said, I'm not like the others sitting in this chair looking at the wall. I like to get out and keep the blood moving round. She was so funny.
I think we'll have to make you some sort of position here, head of voices,
You've got to be a human dynamo, and I'm a human dynamo.
I think
everybody needs to be a human dynamo. Keep active, keep going.
Well, it's been
keep enthusiastic.
It's been a pleasure to speak to you, and
it's always been a pleasure speaking to you. And I do remember speaking to you on many occasions 10 years ago. I hope it's not another 10 years because I'll be staring 80 in the face then.
I don't know. I'll be here in 10 years.
Well, none of us know, do we? I'll tell you what. Every day is a bonus.
Yes,
that's the way you've got to look at it.
That's absolutely true. I'm not going to tell you about I was going to read you the Daily Star story about Angelina Jolie and describe what she was wearing, but I think you've probably had enough excitement for today. Take care.
You too. Pleasure to speak to you.
Bye, Barry. Have a good day. Bye-bye. We'll speak to Dorothy in a moment, who's in Oldham. I'm Mike Allen. This is... Oh, the screen just moved. I just moved my hand as the screen moved, and I thought, oh, I must have magic powers. I've turned into Uri Geller. Dorothy from Oldham is next.
On 1089 and 1053 AM and Sky Digital Channel 0108. Talk Sport.
Let me tell you, we were talking this morning on 08704 20 about the pleasures of being a good auntie or a good uncle. Well, why not? Because it's about time you were practising. If it's imminent in your life, then you're going to be an auntie or an uncle. 08704 20. Loads of stuff looking at the local papers. We're going to speak to Dorothy from Oldham in just a minute, and I think there's a call from Lawrence, and there's three other usual suspects hanging around the back, so we'll get to those in a few minutes. It's 5:33, let's call it that. Thanks, John. Computer freezed up? Don't worry about it, son. I'll just pump it with my Magnum. Ice cream cornet. Thank goodness this doesn't happen when the Queen listens. Silence is brought to you by the Noise Abatement Society. Should we try and live without it and go and have a chat with Dorothy? Should we do that? Hello, Dorothy.
Hello, Mike.
I must apologise for the silence enforced upon us.
Yeah, there was. I thought it got clicked off.
No, it's just it's the computer that's...
frozen up.
Yeah.
Gosh, maybe you've got a spook.
Well, I suspect you're right, because apparently...
Most studios have.
It did it yesterday.
It does it a lot on your station. The station just goes off dead.
Yeah. I think James Well has the same problem. You had a word with the boss the other day.
Not surprised.
I'm not telling you about this again, no.
I know, it's not that. It's dirty chip papers and all that with James, isn't it? Empty crisp bags, etc.
Oh, I see.
Dirty Coke cans and filthy studios, and and Mike Mendoza has a go usually as well, the same thing.
Oh.
Anyway, on to the flu jab. I have a very bad respiratory disease, and I would like to just go back quickly to the guy before Barry. I stopped smoking at 58-year-old, I think I was. I think it's 7 years this year or 8, but I was using a filter on top of a filter for about 2 years prior. And I had smoked, but not heavy, for about 40 years, so there's hope. You can stop smoking. I had no side effects, which was strange, but I didn't. I've never smoked a cigarette since for at least 7 years.
Wow.
So there you go. So there is an answer out there. And I'm not a very strong person, but I also stopped drinking 20 years ago as well.
Did you?
I used to be a bit of a binge drinker. when I say binge drink, a married woman, you know, with a child, husband, got on my nerves like they all do, you know.
Yeah.
And I've been a nurse for donkey's years, and of course I'm retired now. But, yes, I stopped drinking as well. I think it's 20 years this Christmas for absolute. I did stop about 2 years before, but I did have the odd little downfall, you know, and have a go on then at the Christmas fair, you know, punch and Irish coffees and such, and then got a bit hit and miss, you know. But, yeah, I also stopped the smoking and the drinking, so you can do it, even though you're older. Now, the flu jab, because I have mixed with so many people with illnesses, I always found it very important to have the flu jab annually. And for me personally, it really has worked. But I must say, as a nurse, both in the hospital and worked as an occupational health nurse, I have found that that some people do actually have a reaction. I wouldn't like to give a true estimate, but I would say it could be maybe, depending, I don't know, certain areas maybe, I don't know whether the environment's got anything to do with it. I would say probably about 1 in about 200 or 300 people do have some reaction, and some do have a bad one. And my sister has a bad reaction, and she's asthmatic too. So you see, it's a bit like you say, it could have multiple reasons why, you know, we have asthma in the first place, and probably multiple reasons why our bodies react towards vaccines in different ways.
Yes, well, I was saying to an earlier caller that it was probably a cocktail effect, you know.
Yeah.
And he didn't disagree, and of course, if you think about
I don't disagree.
Yeah.
Because you see, you know, many of us do take many other medications as well as, which is safe to take with a vaccine, but are they sometimes? Maybe not, you know. Could I just briefly go on to, I have got Muslim neighbours, and I'm not one of those people who say, I've got Muslim friends, I'm not racist and all that. I literally go in their house, they come in my house, the husband, they're Bengalis, they can't speak very good English, but the children can, and the husband laid the laminate flooring with my husband because he's not in good health. I make hanging baskets for them. I go in, I did the dressing for 2 cakes for the 16-year-old girl 3 months ago. So we tried to do a bit of a westernised world between us. And yeah, I'll go in and have a cup of tea with them and have an answer. I get the little kids telling me how to say salam, because I do know the difference between the shalom, being a Catholic, and the salam, you know. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I do mix with them, because I don't think you can have an opinion on people unless you actually mix with them. You know, there are good, there are bad. There's one, I call him the Mad Muller, who walks past my house. I don't call it to him, but he looks like one. He takes the kids off every day, you know, to be indoctrinated. Like, as a child, I was catechized as a Catholic, but as an adult Catholic, I look at my Catholicism so different now. But they are doing with their children something similar to what we had when we were children, you know, and I think it's wrong. You know, you can have too much of anything, like even the flu vaccine, you know, and booze. But having said that, there was another little point, and I think I'm going to roll straight off it. I wanted to just go straight in and let your next caller get on. And, the Pope. I do really think that this infallibility regarding the Pope, everything the Pope says as a human being is not of an infallible nature. He's human, you know, and if he wants to read a text, he has his own agenda for reading it. We've had so many things bombed at us. We've had, that terrible Jerry Springer thing about Jesus and all that. But I have to watch these programs or I can't have an opinion. So, whilst I'm brave and strong enough as a Roman Catholic to be able to say, well, I don't like what I saw, but I've just got to accept that that's how people want to be. And they want to say those nasty things, let them say them. And Muslims should be strong and brave enough out there to say, well, just because he happens to be the Bishop of Rome, he has much right as Abu Hamza or someone in Iran at the moment who's kicking out to their opinion. And let's just leave it at that, and let's have a world of opinions, and maybe that would be the best way we could sort all our problems out. Just have opinions and no wars. Can I leave it there now, Mike?
I would if I were you, Dorothy. I'd quit while I was ahead.
I am doing, yeah, but we're in a hole now, yeah. Okay, Mike, thank you for listening.
Have a good weekend. God bless.
Bye-bye, thank you.
Talk Sport. We'll be talking about the Alan Brazil Sports Breakfast Show very soon, with Graham Beecroft is coming in to bring us up to speed. If you'd like to be part of the wind-up for the overnight. It's 08704 20 20 20. 08704 20 20 20. Where's that little call gone? It's disappeared. He's fallen off, sir. Right. The Daily Mail. It's funny. People either love the Daily Mail or they can't stand it. There's more on the Chris Tarrant upset in the weddings. Divorce, rather, sorry. Terrible old business. And a terror suspect, a British Muslim on trial for his part in a terror plot yesterday, refused to give any more evidence to protect his family from the Pakistani security services. You might recall this is the story of Omar Khayyam, accused of plotting terror strikes in England with 6 others, who's claimed he bought 600 kilograms of explosive ammonia nitrate fertilizer. More on that as it opens up. Working mothers can harm families, warns the Archbishop of Canterbury. I suppose what can hurt families a lot more, actually, is starving children. And a U-turn on demo fanatic. Complaints force police to investigate lawyer's diatribe outside cathedral. Eleanor Roosevelt. Now, there's a name. Eleanor Roosevelt. Hello, Lawrence.
Hello there.
Lawrence, you know, greatness comes upon one, doesn't it, on occasions, and I'm sharing not only the studio with yourself, but also with Graham Beecroft. And he's trying not to laugh, so we're going to do an update on Alan Brazil's Sports Breakfast Show, and then it's yourself.
Okay.
Hello, Graham.
Hello, Mike. How are you?
Yeah, I'm all right, thanks.
Good.
Thank you very much. It's a bit cold in here, actually.
Is it? Well, why don't you turn the heating up, then?
Oh, I don't know if I'm insured.
Oh, right, I see. Why'd you fall to pieces if it gets too hot or something? Do you become a skeleton?
It's so cold. I look down, my hairs are standing up. I thought,
oh, really?
God, this is the man that met Peter Stringfellow.
Oh, right.
Anyway.
Peter Stringfellow or Peter Stringfellow?
That's right.
Oh, right.
Stringfellow. I know it began with a B.
Yeah.
Sad chap, I know, but anyway, you'll learn to love me. What you got for us?
Well, we've got the Alan Brazil Sports Breakfast coming up, Mike, and we're going to be chatting about lots of things, of course. The Ryder Cup teams have arrived over there in Ireland for practice for the Ryder Cup, which starts on Friday, over there at the K Club, and they've brought over a huge bag of tortillas. Tom Lehman's wife, apparently, they come from Arizona. She loves tortillas. Can't get the right sort of salsa dip in the tortillas over here, so they brought a load of them over into this country. Couldn't get them off the plane or something. There was some problem with them anyway, but we're going to be talking about that and more seriously about the golf that's to come as well with Dan Poppers, who's the editor-in-chief and publisher of Golf News magazine. We're also obviously going to be talking about what happened at West Bromwich Albion yesterday, which was that the former England international and, of course, West Bromwich Albion manager now, Brian Robson, was fired from the job only 8 games into the season. We'll be speaking about that. Was that fair? Was that reasonable? And perhaps asking why it is that many of the top players who go into management simply don't make a hit of it. It's a strange sort of phenomenon, really. We're going to be hearing a little bit more from David Beckham as well, former England captain, speaking to Kelly Dalglish. Bit of a hue and cry for him to come back and play in the England team at the moment, because, of course, there's 1 or 2 injuries for our next qualifying matches for the European Championships. We'll talk about that, no doubt, as well. We've got a good competition for you. I'm going to be on the putter, Mike, seeing if I can pop the ball in the hole to win some money for our competitors in the Bibby Financial Services competition, so looking forward to that. Mansfield Town are at home to Portsmouth tonight. Peter Shercliffe is the manager. We're going to be talking to him. And there's been a takeover at Peterborough United Football Club. The manager, Keith Alexander, is going to be talking about that. Barry Fry, well-known chairman, has stood down, and a property developer has taken over. And my first thought there was that there is a very, very large car park at Peterborough United, and that could be one of the attractions. But anyway, we'll be talking about that as well. And Bob Bubker is going to be joining us as well to talk Ryder Cup, so plenty to look forward to in the Alan Brazil Sports Breakfast coming up.
Wouldn't that be an irony if David Beckham was asked to return as a caretaker England manager?
In what way? Oh, as caretaker England manager?
Yes, so in other words, not manager. Captain.
Captain. Yeah. Mm.
That would just be a little bit.
Well, yeah. Personally, I can't see it. I think England has to move on from the David Beckham era, and I can't see that happening. But it's an interesting debating point. I was listening to Drive Time last night as we went round London in ever increasing circles when we came back from Heathrow Airport, Alan and I, and there was plenty of callers saying yes, bring him back. He should be back. Should never have been dropped, etc. So that may be something which our listeners might want to get in touch with us about on the usual numbers.
Great.
Thank you very much indeed. Nice to see you.
Lawrence. Hello, Lawrence. Say it again, Michael. Hello, Lawrence.
Hello there.
Yeah, got you. Hello. You called me about Eleanor Roosevelt.
I did. Eleanor Roosevelt was the most remarkable woman. And she had those wonderful expressions that she left behind some of those wonderful things to say. I wonder if you'd allow me to say some of them.
Yes, let's have a little enjoyment together.
Let's say, incidentally, I think your presentation, and I'm not making you into it is good. Your voice is fine, and you come up extremely well. Let's go. Many people will walk in and out of your life, but only true friends will leave footprints on your heart.
Oh, that's lovely, isn't it?
To handle yourself, use your head, but to handle others, use your heart. Anger is only one letter short of danger. And if someone betrays you once, that's his fault. But if he betrays you twice, it's your fault. Great minds discuss ideas. Average minds discuss events. And small minds discuss other people. He who loses money loses much, but he who loses a friend loses all. And beautiful young people are accidents of nature, but beautiful old people are a work of art.
I particularly like that one.
You like that?
Yes,
I do as well. I'm 79 in next birthday.
Yeah.
Learn from the mistakes of others, because you can't live long enough to make them all yourself.
Yes.
You brought your friend, and then there were others, and there were three. And the last thing she said, which was so interesting and beautiful, and I always live by it, is yesterday is history. Tomorrow is a mystery. But today is a gift. Now, last week, on Thursday, when you finished, were you there? You were on last Thursday, weren't you?
Yes, I think so. After I'd done 5 hours before the mast, I felt shot blasted with good intentions.
Now, I was on just about nearly 6 o'clock, and actually you cut me off. And rightly so, I don't mind. It's the matter. But I wanted to get back on again. He said, ring back on Monday, and perhaps Mike might talk to you.
Really?
This is one thing. If you'd like to just listen to this. It says, you've got to be taught to hate and fear. You've got to be hate from year to year. It's got to be drummed in your dear little ear. You've got to be carefully taught. You've got to be taught to hate people whose eyes are a different shape, and people whose colour of skin is a different shade. You've got to be taught, carefully taught. You've got to be taught before it's too late, before you're 6 or 7 or 8, to hate all the people your relatives hate. You've got to be carefully taught. Now that is from South Pacific, the show, and it describes the way things are in the world and have been for hundreds and thousands of years. Because if you bring up a child, they say, and you carefully teach that child to hate, it will hate. Because that's all he knows. Do you agree?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely, and also there has to be a certain amount of I don't want to use the wrong word here. I think there's a certain amount of discipline in terms of regime, so that the child remembers that there are parameters, and if you forget parameters, then all good sense goes out of the window. All the fine talk amounts to nothing at all. Lawrence, it's a pleasure to speak to you. Call us again soon. Sue is in Chelsea. Hello, Sue.
Hello there, Mike.
How are you?
I'm well, thank you, because I've had a fairly good sleep, which is something I have problems with sometimes.
Do you?
Problems, yes.
We were talking about working mothers, and apparently they're on the increase.
Well, yes. Now, there's something that doesn't add up to me. These days, when there are a number of problems surrounding the behaviour of a significant number of young people, problems including depression, seems to be on the increase amongst children, the drugs problem, teenage pregnancies, etc. And the finger always seems to end up being pointed at parents, rightly or wrongly. It seems very strange that we expect, or, this society now expects the primary care of children, be it a mother or a father, because sometimes it's a father, to not consider raising children as a job and as a sort of just they're there.
I tell you what, this is a two-smoke question. Let me do the traffic, and we'll come back and we'll discuss part 2 of it, Sue. Don't leave town. Stay right there.
talkSPORT Traffic and Travel.
Hi, Russell. What's happening?
Morning once again, Mike. Not a great start on the M61 in Greater Manchester. A jackknifed lorry currently being recovered. The carriageway closed in both directions between junctions 1 and 4. That's between the M60 Swinton interchange and the A6 turn at Farnworth. Expect some pretty heavy delays. The road's been closed since 7 o'clock last night. Plus also on the A2 in Kent, the westbound carriageway closed because of roadworks between Dartford Heath and the Black Prince interchange, but that's already beginning to build up. Traffic queuing to junction 2 of the M25, the Darrant interchange. They do hope to have it finished by 6 a.m, so if you're in a queue there, hopefully you won't be for too much longer. And some good news about the A41 in Hertfordshire. I mentioned earlier that was closed following an accident in the southbound carriageway at the A416 junction in Berkhamsted. All cleared and back open, but sadly the A485 in Carmarthenshire still closed because of an overturned lorry and fuel spillage at Old Wallace. A diversion is in place, has been since Sunday evening. I'm Russell Holding with talkSPORT Traffic and Travel.
talkSPORT Traffic and Travel.
talkSPORT.
The radio station with a jaunty swagger and an eye for the ladies. Across the UK on Stag Weekend in Amsterdam.
Only 20 guilders, y'all.
Hello, darling. DAB Digital Radio. Or on Bank Holiday Monday at her sister's house in Consett.
You don't understand what it's like to be that.
10:89 and 10:53 a.m.
Absolutely free.
talkSPORT.
I was talking to Sue just before we paused to get an update on the travel situation when we were talking about the delights of being a mother at home looking after children. Not a single mother, but a mother at home. And I said to Sue, this is a two-pipe question, and that was meant figuratively speaking.
I hope so.
Yeah. Well, I don't smoke, and you don't sound as if you do.
Well, I do, actually.
Do you?
Yes, I do.
Not pipes.
No.
No.
To continue
Yes.
what I was talking about. Expecting the primary care of children to work full-time, in my view, is going against all the knowledge we have about best to ensure that our children get the best chance in life. Not only that, but society pays the price in terms of antisocial behaviour. I don't think children can be sidelined. Raising children is a job, as I said before, and until we recognise that, I think we'll have problems. Children need from their parents time and attention almost as much as physical nourishment. If both parents are working full-time, or in the case of single parent, if that lone parent is working full-time, they will not have the energy or the time necessary to give to their children to enable them to develop and realise their full potential. Now, to me, it adds up. But what's going on at the moment doesn't add up. I don't know what you think of that, Mike.
It's difficult to stick in a few short words, isn't it?
Well, try.
Yeah, I agree with you, but what's important for me is to leave enough room for the kids to develop.
Yes.
You know, I mean, if you run them on too tight a line,
yes,
then they rebel on principle, even if they've got no reason to.
Well, children, it is in the nature of particularly teenagers to rebel. This is part of growing up, I think. But they do need something to rebel against. Now, if the parents are too busy to provide the stability that children are going to rebel against at some point, then, in my view, the children are going to rebel against society in general instead. And I think this is what happens.
Well, that's interesting. So if they don't have a home rebellion point, like a cat would come in and scratch a table leg, they'll go out and they'll have an encounter point with society as a whole. Yes.
They need to rebel against something, and if that something isn't at home, then the something is going to be outside of the home or somewhere else in the wider world, as it were.
Sure.
What I'm saying, in essence, is that someone needs to be there in the home, or for a lot of the time.
An anchor point.
Yes, exactly, an anchor point. Because, as I said before, what children need is time. They don't need computers. They are conditioned to want computers and all the other paraphernalia. They don't actually need those things, but what they need, like the air they breathe, is time and attention. And this is what, in my view, they are lacking. I'm not blaming parents for that, because parents are being conditioned to going out to work rather than considering the job they have at home, i.e. looking after children and the home, one of them, not regarding that as work. When, of course, it is. It's as much work as anything else, and unfortunately, it's not even paid.
Well, no, not in money. It's been a pleasure to talk to you, Sue. I don't disagree with a lot that you say, but I do think I've got to preserve a little bit of freedom there. But then I say that because I come from an astrological sign with a long-back furry creature. Extraordinary, isn't it?